Welcome everyone to the first episode of Repvile Replay. So I've got a modest collection of retro game consoles, stuff like Atari Jaguar, Sega Dreamcast, Saturn, different Atari home computers, handhelds, and some other stuff. Most of it never really gets played much. They're on boxes, on shelves, kind of just display pieces at this point. I thought it might be nice to revisit some of the old games and consoles in my collection, and maybe do some reviews and playthroughs on them. So I decided to do a little spin-off series and call it Repvile Replay. So for the first episode, I wanted to do something really cool. I just got this thing in the mail yesterday. Came from Castlemania Games. Got here in about 2 days. Super fast shipping from those guys. The Super Retro-cade. And I've heard a lot about this system. It's from Retrobit. 90 built-in games. Capcom. Data East, IRM, Technos. Comes with two wired controllers, which is cool. I don't know what the build quality is of them yet. We're going to open this up, take a look. HDMI outs and AV outs, so you should be able to hook this thing just about any TV that you have. So what we're going to do, we're going to open this thing up, take a look at it, inspect it, see what the build quality is like, give my initial impressions of that. So overall presentation of the box looks really nice actually. Packed with over 90 games. Guys, this is not an AT Games piece of shit garbage that you find at the Dollar Tree. This thing has legit arcade games, SNES games, Nintendo, and I believe Mercs is the only Sega Genesis game. I mean, look at this list of games. You're not going to find bullshit like the AT Games puts in their box. Those guys basically fool you with like the Sega Genesis collection. I can't remember. The Genesis had like 90 games in it, but maybe 30 are actual Sega Genesis games. The rest are just complete pieces of trash that you'd find on like V-Smile, VTech Baby System or something. And this thing does have an SD card slot, and it's supposed to be okay. So they don't advertise this. They say it's just to do save games and stuff to it, but it isn't. You can add games to the system. I can't tell you like what an awesome feature that is. There are images out there. I've seen a couple so far that are up to 6,000 games you can put on the SD card, and it's only like maybe an 8 gig SD card. All that shit will fit onto it. That's absolutely huge. The replay value for this system's incredible. Okay, so. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Initial impressions, that looks really nice. The controllers are about the size of maybe a Super Nintendo controller, just a little bit smaller. Comes with HDMI cable. We got the power plug there. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with the presentation of the system, at least in the box. There's a controller here. Feels pretty good. These cables look really long. I'm gonna guess maybe 10 feet the way they're wrapped up. HDMI cable. Always nice to have an extra HDMI cable. Thanks for putting that in there. There's our power source. That doesn't seem real long. Well, maybe 10 or 12 feet too. Get this thing out of here. Well, that feels pretty good. Actually, the plastic on it feels a lot like my NES Pi case, which is real similar to the old NES. This thing feels built pretty well, actually. Okay, so here's a close-up of the Retrobit compared to my NES Pi case. I can tell you right now, the plastic feels almost the same on them, and that the plastic on the NES Pi case is really nice. Okay, guys, I've had a chance to look over the controller for a minute. It is pretty similar to the SNES controller size-wise. It's a little bit smaller. Buttons feel fine. They don't feel cheap in any way. The plastic feels good. It is a little bit lighter than a SNES controller. These buttons are a little, I don't want to say stiff. Towards the top they're stiff, but they get better towards the ends. D-pad feels okay. I think it's going to be a good controller. The cord is super long. It's pretty close to 10 feet, so I don't think you're going to have a problem like reaching the couch. So overall, I'm pretty happy. It's well built. The controllers feel nice. There's a ton of kick-ass games in here, mostly arcade games, which I'm really happy about. SD card slot, so you can expand this. HDMI, all the hookups you need. The power button on the top does light up red. It feels a little springy. That's one complaint I've got so far with it. So let's dive right in. We're going to hook it up. I'll go through the menu screen and we'll play a couple games. Check it out. Okay guys, so this is the main screen of the Super Retro-cade. Everything's very clear. It's alphabetical order, and it's all laid out thumbnails by the title screens of all the games, which I really like. Now you can, let's see, I'll show you the main menu here. If you go into settings, it's not settings. So you can bring up the settings here. You can change the volume. I'd recommend turning the background music off. I'll turn it on for a second so you can hear it. You know, whatever. If you like that, then leave it on. I would recommend turning that off though. Damn it. Alright. You can change the video. Now, here's the thing about the video. Every game on here comes in full screen. If you want to change the resolution settings, you have to go into each game and switch the original size, which I would recommend because everything looks a lot better in the other aspect ratio instead of stretched out in full screen. You can change the controller inputs. I think this is for each game also. I don't think this is across the board, but I could be wrong there. And change your language and set everything back. If you look down here, you can filter. If you just want to filter it by genre, let's see. We just want to go to all the beat 'em up games. Boom. There's all your side-scroller beat 'em ups. We want to go. Let's say we just want to do all arcade games, and there are a ton of arcade games on here. That's all the arcade genre. We want to go back, sort it the way it comes standard. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, we're gonna just go across. We'll take a quick look at all the games on the system. I'm gonna pick out a couple that are the really standout games, and we'll play it for just a few seconds, or a few minutes, just to get you guys a good look at it. 10-yard fight. So this says that it's the NES version, but I played it real quick, and I think it might be the actual arcade version. I'm not sure. 1942, 1943, two really awesome shooters. Air Duel, another great shooter. Armored Warriors, this is a real standout of the system here. I wanted to go into this real quick and show you because it's a side-scroller beat 'em up, but it's a little bit different, and it's pretty awesome. So it's a side-scroller beat 'em up with mechs. This game kicks ass. I played a little bit around with it earlier. It's an awesome game. Oh man, look at this game. I don't think this ever came out in the States in the arcade. Man, I would have loved playing this game. Alright, let's find something else. Okay, so in-game menu, you just hit the start and select button at the same time. So you can turn the game, you can load your saves. Here's the thing about the saves. I think you get one save state for just in the unit. If you want to have additional save states, you're going to have to use the SD card slot. You can do your button mapping right here. Change the volume, restore everything, and go back to the main menu. Let's see what else we got. Both bad dudes. This is the NES version and the arcade. The arcade is a little bit better. Same thing with Bionic Commando, except I think the NES version of the Bionic Commando is probably better. Blade Master. Here's another standout. We'll play this one real quick. If you like Golden Axe, this is right up your alley. It's a lot like Golden Axe, and it looks really good. And all this weird stuff right now, this isn't like the system screwing up. This is, you know, like the ROM test you would see in the arcade. And from what I've seen, all the arcade stuff is pretty spot on. The original Retrobit system, the Generations, has some really poor emulation. This is a huge step up from that system. I don't think the average person is going to be able to tell if there's any like weird stuff going on. There's one game that I did notice. I've never played it before, but some of the sound sounds a little off. We'll get to that one in a minute though. Look at this. Well, there's two things I love going to the arcade playing. Side scrollers like this and arcade shooters. And this system has chock full of both. Boogie Wings, I played a little around with this one last night. It's like a steampunk shooter. It's pretty cool, a little odd. Buggy Popper, I think that's kind of like Spy Hunter a little bit, but you bounce around. A good version of Burger Time. Captain Commando, I never played this before, but I fooled around with it earlier, and it looks like a pretty awesome game. Cobra Command. Codename Viper, I think that's a side scroller, kind of like Contra maybe. Commando, a lot like Akari Warriors. Congo Caper, a platformer. I haven't played this before, but it looked pretty cool. So Dark Lord here, I think this is the only RPG on this system. I played a little bit around with it. It's a little odd. I might be able to get into it. It looked different than most of the other RPGs I've ever played. You got Double Dragon, the arcade. I think this is an arcade version too. Yep. Dragon Breed. No, this is a cool ass game. I've never played it before until just a little bit ago. I fooled around with it. It's like Panzer Dragoon as a side scroller, I'd say. This is one that stood out to me. Look at that shit. Oh, yes. It looks so good. I'm telling you, if you like shooters, this console is kick-ass. There are a lot of them on here. Alright. Oh, I do want to say one thing about the controllers. So far, the controllers are really good. I'm not having any problems with them. Everything... There's no delay. I don't see any lag with the buttons. The bumper buttons feel a little weird compared to the SNES controllers. But honestly, I haven't found many games that even use the bumpers anyway. So, and here's the other thing about the controllers that you're going to have to know. They are USB controllers. Here's the thing. I've tried a bunch of USB controllers in the device. It hasn't really picked anything up yet. I've tried several Xbox 360 controllers. None of those worked at all. They light up and that's it. And the PS4 controller will move around the menu screen, but none of the buttons work. So I went online and looked, and there is some compatibility issues. But there's a list out there of a bunch of controllers that do work. I'll try to put that list up in the description field for you guys. So this is one thing to be aware of. It's not going to be like the Raspberry Pi where it's going to take just about any controller. But there are a lot that do work in it, so, and some really good controllers work in it. Alright, where are we at here? Pro wrestling game. So this thing has a lot of different genres in it, not just shooters, not just side-scroller beat-em-ups. There's a couple sports games, there's wrestling. There's another really cool wrestling game I'm going to show you in a minute. It's not the typical one. Let's see. This is a pretty decent shooter. It's a lot like Xevious a little bit. Fighter's History, Final Fight, which are kind of like Streets of Rage. Forgotten World. If you've never played Forgotten Worlds, this is a really good game. It's kind of like a side-scrolling Space Harrier. And well, you shoot in multiple directions, which I thought would be a little weird on here, but it worked pretty good. So this is one of the games that do use the bumper buttons. Use the bumper and it rotates your shots. And it works pretty good. Even though they're a little stiff. Alright. 2 ghouls and ghosts. Well, ghosts and goblins, ghouls and ghosts. Gunsmoke is like Ikari Warriors, but in the Old West, and the controls are a little weird on that. Hammer and Harry, I have no idea what the hell that is. Heavy Barrel, another good shooter. Okay, here's one of the games that sold me on this system, because I've been wanting to play it, and I have never got to play it before. Holy Diver. This is awesome. And it's exactly what you think. Ronnie James Dio meets Castlevania. You know it's gonna be awesome. Instead of a whip, you get magic fireballs or something. So I haven't had a chance to really play this yet, but this is going to be one of the first games I go through. So awesome what this game is on here. Image Fight. Played around with this last night. Another really good shooter. Joan Mac platformer. I've never actually played these, but I heard they were pretty decent. And I think a couple of these are arcade versions. That one is from the arcade, yes. Karate Champ, I don't really care for. So this Kengo, I think this is like a shinobi, but you get a bunch of different weapons and stuff. I have no idea what this is. I've tried to mess around with it last night, and it's super strange. Some type of weird puzzle game. Typical late 80s fighter, you know, Ninja Kid, whatever. Okay, Knights of the Round. This is another standout of the system. This game is really awesome. If you like the Dungeons and Dragons game on the Sega Saturn, you know, Tower of Doom, this is a lot like that. And it looks really good. Graphics are great on it. I love these old side scrollers. I can't tell you how much money I've put into stuff like Golden Axe. Brings back so much memories. It's like going to house parties, playing Golden Axe all night with your buddies. Here we go. Where are we at here? This platformer, I think this is sort of like Ghouls and Ghosts a little bit. Legendary Wings. This is an interesting game. You fly around, I think you're like a phoenix or something, I don't know. A bird guy. So here's one thing that's a little odd. This magical drop game. So you've got 3 of them on here. I don't know why you need 3 of them. They're all pretty much the same. They play a lot like Puzzle Bobble, except you pull the balls down and then shoot them back up. And, you know, it's an okay game. I just don't know why you need 3 of them on here. Golf game. So this is, see what I was talking about. You've got a lot of different genres on here. Mega Man 2 and 3. Cool. Awesome. Another platformer. I've never heard of that one. 2 versions of Mercs. This is the Sega Genesis version. And I think this is the only Genesis game on the system. And you get the super kick-ass arcade version of Mercs. I love this game as a kid. I've spent so much quarters playing this game in the arcade. Midnight Resistance. Another shooter. I haven't played that one yet. Let's see, Motor Race. That's one you could take or leave. Not that good. Mr. Heli. I wasn't sure what to expect of this, but it's a it's kind of like a cute 'em up shooter. Very strange game. So here's the other. I told you there was 2 wrestling games on here. I saw this Mutant Fighter. I'm like, what the hell is this? You know, the name caught my attention, and so did the screenshot. It's a fighting game. Well, it's not a fight. It's a wrestling game with monsters. This is so awesome. I haven't really had a chance to get too much into it yet, but man, I think I could really get into this game. Alright, on to something else. Mystic Riders. So this is the game that I said the sounds a little wonky on, and I've never actually played this game. You know, before a little while ago, it just something sounds weird with the music, and it's a little clippy. This might be the one that's might have some emulation issues. It seems to play fine though. Maybe somebody else that's really into this game could tell the difference. I don't know. Another example of a cute 'em up. A cute shooter. I mean, it plays fine. As far as I can tell. Just, I don't know, something sounds weird about it. Yeah, getting down there pretty far. Almost towards the end. Ninja Spirit. I think it's kind of like Ninja Gaiden. I have no idea what the hell this game is. Renegade, another beat 'em up. It's not bad. This Rocky Rodent game, I'm not going to go into it. I will leave this as a surprise for you. Super weird. That's all I'm going to say. Super weird. R-Type 3, kick ass. Secret Agent, some type of weird shooter. I played around for a minute. Section Z, another shooter, but with this one you get like multiple. You could shoot left and right. It's decent. Sidearms, another shooter. So here we got another job. We got a side pocket pool, billiards, some type of platformer. Spartan X is a platformer fighter, I think. Yeah. So you see there are Capcom games on here. You've noticed Street Fighter is pretty much left off except for this Street Fighter. This is not the typical Street Fighter game. This is more like Ninja Gaiden in the future, Binding Commando, something like that. It's a pretty difficult game. It's not a bad game that I can see. It's just don't expect a Street Fighter game when you play this. 2 different Striders. Super Birdie Rush. So we've got a golf game on here. Burger Time, Super Burger Time. Super Dodgeball, not a fan. Super Golden Ghost, awesome. Super R-Type. Super Side Pocket, we've got another billiards game. Combat Tribes, I fooled around with this a little bit last night. It's a pretty brutal, like beat 'em up game, like pretty chaotic. 3 Wonders, I wanted to show you guys this one. So this is a 3-pack of some type of arcade. This is another standout. I thought this would be a little stupid, and I guess it kind of is, but in a really awesome way. So you get 3 genres here: action, shooting, and some type of puzzle game. I take or leave the puzzle game. I couldn't figure it out, but I want to show you the action one. It's kind of like if the Keebler Elves went on a rampage against Yell Fudge. This game is so bizarre. It's cool though. And the shooter variant of it is just as weird. I think we're almost at the end here. Let's see. Thunder Blaster, pretty awesome arcade shooter. Trojan, platformer game I fooled around with a little bit. It's like, I'll just show you real quick. I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of like Kung Fu. A little bit, I don't know. It's a weird game. Kung Fu in a dystopian future. Just how the guys come at you. Or Karate Master, you know, whatever the NES game was that everybody had. It's a little bit like that. Strange game. Okay, here's another standout. So, the original Retrobit generations had this game on it, but it was completely unplayable unless you could turn your television sideways. I'm on like a 60-inch TV back here. There's no way I'm turning the thing sideways to play the game. But they fixed it on this system. This system is such a step up from the old Retrobit. Completely redeemed themselves with this one. And look at this. Can you imagine being when you were a kid, you know, back in the 90s, if you had a game system that had 90 built-in games, arcade games. I couldn't imagine, like, to this day, I've always wanted an arcade cabinet in my house. I mean, I could get one easily, but, like, where the hell would you put the thing? I would have just flipped to have something like this as a kid. Vigilante, whatever. Okay, here's the other two, like, really standout games. I'll go into these real quick. This is kind of like Gauntlet-ish. It looks really good. And I'm probably going to give this a complete playthrough pretty soon. I mean, you can already get the Gauntlet feel right from the music. Yes, may the power. Look, right off the bat, an awesome red dragon. Flying overhead. Some weird shrooms you can trip out while you're fighting. Zombies. Yeah, run away. Tell me that doesn't look kick-ass. You know it does. You know it looks good. Okay, here's the other standout game. When I was a kid, I loved Life Force. That was one of my favorite games of all time. Life Force, Salamander on the Sega Saturn. This game reminds me so much of that. I just want to show it off real quick. System seller. Irem's they have a lot of good stuff on here. Tell me this doesn't remind you of Life Force. It plays a lot like it too. Love it. You know, the good thing about Life Force, and like I don't think any other games I've ever did it since then, is how it changes the aspect from horizontal to vertical. Like, I've played a lot of shooters, man, but I don't know of any other ones that have ever did that. I don't know why a lot more don't. Okay, so there's a quick overview of the system. Hopefully you got a good idea of what's all in here. And what do I think about it? I think this Retro-cade console is absolutely incredible. So overall, there are 93 individual games on here. I mean, that's one hell of a value. I got this from Castle Mini Games. It was like 59 bucks. 2 controllers, all the hookups. You know, once you get into something like the Raspberry Pi, you know, you got to buy the case, controllers. It's not user friendly for the average person. This already has built-in games, and it's got an SD card slot. You can add games super simple to this. An 8 gig SD card would probably get you probably the 6,000 pack of games that are out there. And in the past couple months, there's been so much development on this system by different people. Like, there's tons of different game packs. You don't even have to put them all in one thing. I would suggest a couple different SD cards. One for your NES, one for your Super Nintendo, one for your arcades. Have them all separated out. So that's it, guys. Overall, I think it's an absolutely fantastic system. I don't think you're going to find another value for your money, you know, especially compared to like the At Games Genesis, something like that. And it's completely expandable. You're going to be able to hook it up to about any TV. 2 controllers. Just great value for your money. Alright guys, that's it for the review. I appreciate everybody sticking around till the end. And if you like the video, please feel free to click that like button. Every single like helps small channels like mine. I don't have many subs right now, so you know, it's hard getting small channels like mine visibility out, you know, on YouTube so other people can see it. But every single like counts. And if you feel I deserve it, the biggest compliment you could give me right now is to click the subscribe button. Gives me a lot of motivation to put new videos out. I've got a lot of games in here. I do want to like get into reviewing some other stuff. If you like Monster Hunter and some other stuff like that, check out some of my other videos. Alright guys, thanks. See ya.